One of my favourite franchises of all time is Sonic the Hedgehog. Sure, the series has had some rough patches, but when Sonic hits those highs, they're very f***ing high. And it all kicked off with this tiny dev team whipping up a game that flipped the gaming world on its head. What Sonic brought in 1991? Mate, that was revolutionary stuff. Most 8-bit platformers up to that point shared a very similar design philosophy. Of course, there were differences. Mega Man, for example, played very differently from Super Mario Bros., but at their core, the fundamental structure of these games were largely the same. Sonic then came along and broke the mold of what a platformer could be. Its whole foundation was miles apart from what came before, and honestly, I reckon that's the biggest reason it blew up the way it did. Instead of the old run button, Sonic gave you momentum. The better you handled it, the faster you went, and that's what made tearing through the levels feel so clever, like the game was rewarding your skills and your reflexes. No platformer before had even thought about doing this. Sonic was so radically different that people couldn't help but gravitate towards it, and Sega's marketing campaign made damn sure of it. Sega's marketing in the 90s was absolutely genius. They pushed the idea that the Genesis was sharper, faster, cooler than anything else out there, and that cheeky attitude still pops up today. The new Sonic Racing Crossworlds trailer even remade one of their old ads taking the piss out of the Super Nintendo. I loved it. However, has the game aged well today? Is it still a ripper, or were our childhood memories just pulling a sneaky one on us? Time to find out, so kick back, grab a beer, go to Smoko, and if your boss asks, just say Sonic said it was a speedrun break. So with that said, let's f***ing begin. When talking about Sonic, you gotta hit all of the key bits that made the classics bloody special. Like I said before, the momentum and speed is what makes this game shine compared to the other platformers of the era. It was a genius move. Levels suddenly became playgrounds for skill, letting you zip through them however you wanted. Nail the mechanics, and you could absolutely fly through a level, or, you know, crash into a spike like a Muppet. Either way, it's pure Sonic chaos, and that's what keeps it so damn fun. People love to rag on Sonic games just calling them hold right to win, or in some cases press Y and do absolutely f*** all. Sure, I get it, some games do lean on that a bit, but the vast majority? Nah mate, this ain't Sonic. These games are about spectacle, mastering your skills, and pure, unadulterated fun. It's not just about moving fast, it's about moving smart, pulling off tricks, and feeling like a bloody speed demon while doing it. That's where a lot of people miss the point when they critique Sonic. They reckon it's just one big interactive cutscene, but nah, that's miles off. It's not just about moving fast, it's about being clever while moving fast. The game rewards your skill, your timing, and how smartly you tackle each level. Screw it up and you eat the dust. Nail it and you feel like a bloody legend. And you know what? Sonic 1 shows exactly why that's true. Not every stage hits the mark like Green Hill Zone, but with a bit of skill, you can make nearly every level feel just as fast and fun. Well, alright, there are a couple stinkers that don't quite reach that vibe, but the rest? Absolutely ripping. Another mechanic that really set Sonic apart was the ring system. Most platformers back in the day had the same formula. You get hit, you shrink, you lose a chunk of your health bar, or your abilities get stripped away. Sonic flipped that on its head. As long as you've got one ring in your pocket, you can take a hit and keep legging it. Unlimited comebacks, baby. It's such a perfect fit for the series that imagining Sonic with a boring old health bar feels downright wrong in hindsight. It's kinda like crashing your ute into a pole. You're fine, but your meat pie, sunglasses, and Bunnings hat are scattered all over the pavement, and you're scrambling to grab them while everyone's staring. The overall controls are dead simple. Run, jump, and roll into a ball. That's it. But those three moves are all you need to blast through stages, take down enemies, and even square up against bosses. A lot of games with limited controls can feel restrictive, but Sonic flips that on its head. The simplicity actually makes the game feel sharper, faster, and way more intuitive. That's the real beauty of classic Sonic. It's piss easy to pick up, but has layers of depth if you're keen to master it. Kinda like a game of pool at the pub, anyone can whack the balls around, but it takes real skill to clear the table. Same deal here. Sonic's simple on the surface, but once you nail the momentum and flow, it's an absolute ripper of a time. Normally I talk about a game's soundtrack while I'm talking through the levels, but Sonic 1? Nah, this one deserves the full spotlight. The entire soundtrack is just chef's kiss, mate. Absolutely banging from start to finish. Makes you want to sprint through Green Hill Zone like you've had 3 flat whites too many. The Sega Genesis churned out some absolute bangers back in the day. It had this unique twang and punch that you don't hear in games anymore. Sure, the Super Nintendo had some top-notch soundtracks too, and sometimes even better, but the Genesis had its own flavour that was just unmatched. Pure fire for your ears, mate. Onto the level, starting with one of the most iconic stages in all of gaming. Green Hill Zone. There's a reason this place keeps popping up, sometimes for all the wrong reasons, but holy shit, it's an incredible level. Beautiful loops, iconic music, and that sense of speed that hits harder than a cold VB on a scorching Arvo. It's a bloody beaut to look at, showing exactly what this game's all about. Easy enough for newbies to have a crack, but for those who know their stuff, Green Hill Zone is pure gold, a level that actually rewards skill and knowing the layout, and it's one of the best in the franchise at doing just that. And then there's the boss fight, and mate, it's piss easy. Sure, it makes sense, it's the first fight in the game, but there's no real challenge at all. I kinda wish they tweaked it a bit so that while it stayed beginner friendly, you could take it down in more stylish ways that actually make use of the skills you picked up. As it stands, it's less of an epic showdown and more like knocking over wheelie bins on a Tuesday night. But no matter how you tackle it, blasting through this level is an absolute blast. It's brilliant all around. Honestly, even if you tried to stuff it up, you'd probably still have a grin on your face by the end. It's that good. It's easily one of the best levels, not just in the classic series, but in the entire Sonic franchise itself. Then there's Marble Zone, and this is where Sonic hits his first speed bump. Sonic's levels shine when you can tackle them however you like, using your skills to blast through at full tilt. Marble Zone doesn't give you that same freedom, it only really plays one way, and that way feels more like a bog standard platformer than a Sonic game. It's kind of like getting stuck on a train thinking you're on Express to Flinders Street, but nope, you're stuck on an all-stop service and then booted onto a fucking replacement bus scrammed full of people, crawling along while you're just itching to get moving. The stop and go pacing just sucks the wind out of Sonic's sails, and unfortunately, it really drags the level down. Any level that plays like a traditional platformer in a Sonic game just isn't going to gel with what makes Sonic, well, Sonic. And that's Marble Zone's biggest flaw. Instead of letting you blast through with momentum, it slows you down with lava platforms, tedious jumps. It's not Sonic, and it's not a good Sonic level. Not everything in this level is bad though. You've got that ancient ruins aesthetic going on, and the music matches it perfectly. It really ties the whole thing together. I actually find myself getting pretty immersed in the stage because of those two factors, and that's something I really appreciate. It feels like Sonic just wandered onto the set of an Indiana Jones flick, but instead of dodging boulders, you're dodging crabs and badniks. The boss in this level isn't anything to write home about either. Eggman just bounces between two platforms and chucks a bit of lava at you. That's it. Honestly, it feels even more basic than the first boss, which is pretty rough considering that this is only the second zone. Bit of a missed opportunity really. It's like rocking up to round 2 of a pub trivia night expecting things to get harder, only to realize they've just recycled the first round's questions and the new questions are easier than before. A little tweak here or there could have made this fight feel like a proper step up, but I've gotta be honest, I don't rate Marble Zone. Sure, it's got a cracking aesthetic and the music slaps, but the level design philosophy just isn't fun. It drags the pacing down and doesn't gel with Sonic's style of gameplay at all. It's like trying to floor it in a sports car only to hit a traffic jam. Looks nice around you, but you're not going anywhere fast. Next up is Spring Yard Zone, and yeah, this one's a lot better than Marble Zone. Don't get me wrong, it's not quite on Green Hill Zone's level, but it's a definite step up from the level before. This stage finally feels like Sonic's back on his element, fast, bouncy, and built for momentum. It's like the game remembered, oh right, this guy is meant to run, not crawl through lava mazes. There's plenty of spots to really let Sonic rip, with different pathways to take depending on how you want to play, and when you're using your skills to keep the flow going, zipping past badniks and dodging spikes, it's a genuinely great time. It's the kind of level where you feel like a legend when you keep the momentum, and feel like a bit of a goose when you face plant into a spike you clearly saw coming. Sure, there are a few spots where the level slows down and makes you stop for a tick, and standing still in a Sonic game feels about as natural as trying to sprint through wet cement, but honestly, those moments don't drag the whole thing down. Spring Yard's still a solid level overall, and a much smoother ride compared to the slog that was Marble Zone. And the boss fight? Not that bad. Yeah, it's still piss easy if you know what you're doing, but it's at least a bit more creative than the first two. Eggman chipping away at the floor while trying to clobber him is a fun concept. It feels like there's real danger brewing. I just wish the difficulty actually matched the idea, because by the time more of the floor is missing, the fight's already done and dusted. Overall, I like Spring Yard Zone. It's a fun level with that amusement park city vibe and a soundtrack that absolutely slaps, giving you plenty of spots to actually use Sonic's abilities and to test your skills. I don't think it quite reaches that legendary status of Green Hill Zone, but hey, not everything needs to be the headliner act. As far as middle of the game levels go, this one's a solid bounce back after Marble Zone. Then there's Labyrinth Zone, and yeah, this level. It's a real shame that this game as good as this has a stage this rough, but here we are. The main problem? The f***ing water. Instead of giving Sonic a standard swimming mechanic, the blokes over at Sonic Team decided hedgehogs can't swim, and so they just made the regular gameplay slower. Way slower. This gameplay choice is what makes Labyrinth Zone so unbearable. Sonic suddenly moves like he's been replaced with his distant cousin, Sonic the f***ing Tortoise. Every jump and step feels like it's happening in slow motion, and it's about as fun as watching paint dry underwater. Combine that with a level design full of random spikes scattered around and enemies that love to pop out of the ground to blindside you, and to top it all off with the looming drowning timer. It's less of a level and more like a stress test in patience. However, I don't think everything about Labyrinth Zone is terrible. There are a few bright spots. The ancient underwater ruins aesthetic is really nice, and the music? Absolutely incredible. I actually think it is one of the best tracks in the game. And here's maybe an unpopular opinion, but I actually kinda like the boss fight. Instead of the usual hit Eggman 8 times and you're done, this one's more of a platforming gauntlet. You've got to use all your skills you've picked up so far to dodge the spikes, the fire, and the rising water. And if you're skilled enough, you can even avoid the water entirely and just breeze through it, which makes it super satisfying. It's unique, it feels different, and honestly, I really like it. Overall, Labyrinth Zone is just a bad level dragged down by a gameplay choice that slows Sonic down to a crawl in a stage that was never designed to accommodate that choice. Later Sonic games would go on to make water levels into something much more enjoyable, but here, it's a rough first attempt and it shows. Next up is Starlight Zone, and this one's a real highlight for me. It brings back Sonic's core gameplay philosophy of rewarding skill with speed and offering multiple pathways with some fun, unique mechanics like the spike seesaws. The starry night sky backdrop over the city is absolutely breathtaking, easily my favorite background in the entire game. And when you pair it with that absolutely amazing music, you've got both a level that's both immersive and unforgettable. Simply put, Starlight Zone is a great time and an easy highlight of the game. The boss here is great too. I love that it actually uses one of the level's own gimmicks as the main way to beat Eggman. Bouncing on those seesaws to fling spikes or yourself right into him is such a clever idea. Using the stage's own mechanics against him isn't just smart design, it's a design choice that makes you give Eggman a taste of what you've been through so far. It's like beating someone at darts in their own pub. It's simple, satisfying, and fits perfectly at this point in the game. Overall, Starlight Zone is real fun. It's got fun pathways that reward your speed and skill, a gorgeous starlit city backdrop, and music that's just straight up legendary. And a boss fight that I personally really like. It's the kind of stage that makes you think, yeah, this is exactly why Sonic took off in the first place. Next up is Scrap Brain Zone. And by now, I think you may have noticed a pattern. The game starts you out in really nice natural environments, but slowly shifts until you're smack in the middle of this industrial warehouse nightmare. It's core Sonic theme laid out in gameplay, nature versus technology, and it's such a clever way to hammer that point home without saying a single word. The overall level though, I'm gonna be honest, I am a little bit mixed on. Scrap Brain Zone has some good ideas baked into its design, but similar to Marble Zone, it stumbles whenever it strays away from Sonic's core gameplay. Too often you're stuck dealing with unfair enemy placements or sections that just force you to stand around, and that just completely kills the momentum for me. That stuff is just not fun, plain and simple. But there are moments of this stage where it does lean into what Sonic does best, and when it does really shine. Multiple pathways, clever set pieces, and plenty of spots where you can use your skill to keep the speed flowing. Those moments are really good, and they prove that the level could have been a pretty good one if they stuck to the Sonic strengths. I just wish it could have been a bit more consistent because the good bits really do show how great it could have been. I think it really nails the aesthetic too. You really feel like you've reached the end of the game at this point, diving into dangerous, uncharted territory. The whole zone gives off this final rush energy, and the music absolutely sells it. That tense, driving theme hammers in the idea that this is the big showdown, and it's just around the corner. And then there's the part of Scrap Brain I haven't talked about yet, and that's because it's not even Scrap Brain. It's Labyrinth Zone Act 4. Act 3 doesn't evolve Scrap Brain's ideas at all, it just drags you back into another waterlogged slog. And honestly, I think this one act in particular might be the worst stage in the entire classic Sonic series. No speed, no flow, no fun, just a rerun of the game's weakest level right when the finale should be firing on all cylinders. Everything that made Labyrinth Zone bad shows up here again and then some. Scrap Brain Act 3 leans even harder into slow underwater movement and unfair enemy placements, and for some reason, the developers thought it would be a great idea to make the air bubbles take longer to spawn. That's not clever design, it's just flat out stupid. It drags what should have been an epic lead up into a tedious, frustrating mess. But once that's over, you're finally treated to the last level in the game. Final Zone. This fight is pretty simple, to be honest. Eggman hides in one of the 4 pistons that try to crush you, while lightning generators track you from above. It's essentially a guessing game of where he's gonna pop out next, and it's fine. Not the kind of big, bombastic finale I'd personally end the game on, but I think it works well enough. The stakes are at least high enough, and it does sell the sense of a final showdown. Honestly, this boss is less of a final showdown and more like an industrial game of whack-a-mole. To end the levels, I've got to talk about the special stages, and yeah, they're fine. After you nab 50 rings, you jump into a giant ring, and you're suddenly in this big, trippy maze, dodging gold spears, trying to steer yourself towards a Chaos Emerald. Aesthetically, they're gorgeous. It's like Sega went, mate, what if a pinball machine and a lava lamp had a kid? And honestly, being in here just really looks beautiful. Gameplay-wise though, yeah, it's not the most thrilling. You're mostly just tilting around and praying the stage doesn't spin you into the bloody exit. Later Sonic games definitely nail the special stage formula better, but for a first crack, I don't think it's terrible, but it's not exactly gonna blow your socks off either. I think the lack of a reward really drags these stages down too. The only real reward you get is a slightly different ending, while in later games you're treated to this epic invincible Super Saiyan Sonic that makes grinding for the emeralds really worth it. There probably should have been a bit more of a reward for completing all these, but I guess being in the stage itself was the reward. Overall, Sonic 1 is a great game. Sure, it's got a couple stinkers in there, Labyrinth Zone, I'm looking at you, but those lows don't sink what's otherwise a bloody landmark in gaming. Sonic changed platformers forever with its momentum-based gameplay and its style that made Mario look like he was still stuck in the slow lane like that old commercial I was talking about. It proved at the time that Sega wasn't just a one-hit wonder. The game has some rough spots, sure, but it laid the foundation for a franchise that's still going pretty well today. It's like the Macca's soft serve machine. Yeah, it'll break on you sometimes, but when it works, it's bloody great. It's definitely not a flawless game. It can get pretty f***ing rough around the edges, and it definitely feels like a starting point, but as a foundation for the rest of the series to follow, it's rock solid. Without Sonic 1, we wouldn't have the sequels that perfected this formula the game set up. Sonic 1 was definitely a rocky start for Bloody Sure, but it's also a great start that changed gaming forever.